All right, so welcome to the next IMSC Conversation series of talk. So today we have Anand and Diana, whose day jobs are as entrepreneurs, but they actually are wildlife photographers. And the way this came about is actually quite the chance meeting between Anand and me on a train ride from Bangalore to Chennai, and I think quite by accident we started talking, and then one thing led to another, and I figured out that both Anand and Diana are fantastic photographers of wildlife, and you know we said that maybe we could display some of these photos, and then eventually our outreach team, essentially Varuni, Bharti and Mani, came into the act, and they really worked very hard to make it all possible. And so today we'll have Anand and Diana talking about their experience of exploring the wild through means of photography, and then following this, after a high tea, we will actually have inauguration of the exhibition of the photographs, which will be in the library's third floor. So Anand and Diana are both entrepreneurs, but their passion is traveling in the forested areas across India and also in Nepal, I understand, and other areas. And through this journey, the camera is always their companion. And for over these years, they have compiled a fantastic catalog of photos from microfauna. Essentially, what we'll be seeing in the exhibition are mostly the spiders and wasps and so on, and but also megafauna like tigers and so on. But maybe that might be the topic of a future exhibition. So the format of the conversation series is, as always, we have a 30 to 40 minute talk followed by discussion with the audience. They are, of course, also free to ask questions in the middle. Yeah, okay, great. But the whole idea is to have intense discussion with the audience. So please feel free after the talk to ask whatever questions you have, and make this a lively occasion or exchange of ideas. So without further ado, let me invite Anand and Diana to give this conversation series talk on manifesting love for wildlife through photography. So please.
Thank you. It's not, is it working? Okay. Can you change the slide, please? There was once a time when limited and uninitiated was I, gazing upon you only within my narrow confines. I spread my adulation from my heart to the tips of my being. I opened my senses to you like I never opened my eyes. Peering, hearing, touching, tasting, oftentimes just feeling the unfathomable wonders that you have in store. Your silent impact on all humankind, a perpetual presence that we often choose to ignore, the myriad ways you touch my soul. Hello, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here, despite the weather. But we were just talking. I mean, I guess the rain gods are blessing us, and it's like the perfect evening to talk about rains and rainforests and rainforest creatures. So I'm Diana, yeah, obviously, and this is Anand. And we are going to talk to you a little bit about what we have been doing and about our passion for wildlife today. So coming back to the poem, Anand, if you could go back, but that's okay. Coming back to the poem, this is a poem that I wrote way back in June 2018 after our first visit to Agumbe. And I mean, it's not a very long poem, but at that point of time, I just wanted to put my feelings and emotions onto paper. Because the plethora of wildlife that we witnessed in Agumbe, the diversity of wildlife that we witnessed in Agumbe, If I were to compare, it's just like a child being in Disneyland. It was that for us, because before that, all our forest trips, we had seen mammals, we had seen birds, we had seen a few snakes here and there, a few frogs and toads here and there. But there was a mammoth shift in our perspective and understanding about wildlife when we visited Agumbe. And after that visit, we were sure that one thing, we were never going to view the natural world the same again. We were never going to have our blinkers on, because it's so much more than what we see around us, what we are made to believe that this is the natural world. Because, you know, when you see a snail, when you see a spider, which is probably just a couple of millimeters long, and you can't even see it with your naked eyes, like, and in a rainforest, you're trying to figure out where those creatures are. You're trying to photograph them. It's an amazing experience. It just fills you up with so much humility, with so much respect for wildlife, for nature. That's all around us, actually. So since we're talking about rainforest, how would you all define a rainforest, or what comes to your mind when I say rainforest? Like, we all hear the term rainforest quite often. Yes, yes, Amazon, yes. Okay, so basically rainforests are a kind of forests, but they are characterized by trees that are evergreen in nature, and they have hot and humid weather, and the vegetation there, the plants and the animals, they depend on that kind of weather to survive, to breed, and to grow. So that is the characteristic of a rainforest. But the interesting fact about rainforests is that these are the oldest living ecosystems in the world. And some of these living ecosystems have existed for more than 60 million years, and almost all of them in their current form. So there has been no change whatsoever. And another interesting fact, okay, I'm all about interesting facts today. The rainforests in the world, they occupy just about 2 to 6% of the Earth's land mass. But you'll be surprised to know that more than 50% of the world's plants and animals reside in rainforests and are from rainforests. So just 2 to 6% of the area, but more than 50% of species of plants and animals are from rainforests. And yes, Amazon. When we think about rainforest, what comes to our mind is Amazon. But again, every continent in this world has rainforests. So rainforests are not restricted only in and around the equator. Every continent has rainforests except Antarctica. And that would mean we also have our own, very own rainforests. Would you know how many rainforests India has, and where are they located? Which parts of India? Yes, yes, and there's one more. Yes, exactly. Can you please change the slide? Yes, we have the Western Ghats, we have the Northeast region, and we have the Andaman and Nicobar. And of these, the Western Ghats are the most significant because of the biodiversity. Now, the Western Ghats, again, you'll be surprised to know, if you don't know this already, that the Western Ghats are older than the Himalayas. When we think about the Himalayas, we think that those tall mountains and Everest has been standing there forever, but our very own Western Ghats have been there much before the Himalayas. And the Western Ghats is one of the only 8 hottest hotspots of biological diversity in the world. So that means that the number of species, the diversity of species in Western Ghats is that rare and is found only, and that can be compared to only about 8 only other 7 regions in the world. So that's Western Ghats for you. Okay. And these are some numbers just to show you what, and these are growing. These numbers are expanding with each passing day. But also an interesting point to note here is, and also sad is, when we talk about these rainforest creatures, when we talk about plants and animals in Agumbe or in Western Ghats or any rainforest, while they are so diverse, these are also the most vulnerable, the most endangered species exist in rainforests. And as you are aware, the present day conditions where rainforests, Amazon, even India, the Western Ghats, where so much is happening, where so much human intervention is happening, these delicate natural ecosystems and the species are more at risk. Okay, that was quite a bit of it. Before we move forward, I want you to take a break, take a green break, and look at the screen for a moment. Just some green for our eyes.
So you mentioned that 16 of these mammals are not found. You mentioned that 16 of these mammals are not found anywhere. These are like presumably quite small
Yes, these
mammals.
are endemic to the Western Ghats.
Yeah, but these are presumably size-wise, these are very small mammals, or they could also
No,
be
no, they
pretty
could be
large?
all size. Mammals
I
are
see.
all sizes,
No,
yes.
but they are not found elsewhere, so
They are not found
they are-
elsewhere, like
they can't survive
the
elsewhere?
Nilgiri langur. So
Okay,
that's
okay.
found only in, or the Nilgiri marten. It's found only in the Western Ghats, and it's not found anywhere else in the world. Sorry? This looks like that? Wow. We are shifting here then. We would love to stay here. Yes, please.
In your last slide, you said it's growing. So what exactly growing? So I missed that.
The species, identified species. So every year, identifying species. So every once in a while, if you, even in the newspapers, even in our dailies, you keep hearing that okay, a new frog has been discovered in the Western Ghats, or a new snake has been discovered in the Western Ghats or Agumbe. And on the other hand, I'm saying that in the same breath, some frog or some lizard or some species of plant, not plant maybe, has gone extinct. So,
So, this was a photo that we took and we spent a few days there, and I hope I'm audible. So, the whole idea was.
You're being recorded. You might want to speak at the mic.
We spent a couple of days here, and the major thing is that it was rains the whole time, and we were walking in those rains, and we never realized that, we never missed the sun, right? There is, it's a different feeling, too much of rains, you might feel a little bored, but after a point of time you get used to it and you love this environment when it's so green and fresh, right? So that's going to be a small quiz. So what are the words that you can think of when you look at green and when you look at the letters PH? Can you please throw some suggestions? Phosphate. Photosynthesis. Yeah. Any other guesses? Sorry? Phylogeny, okay. Phylum. Anything else? Phosphor. Sounds good. Yeah, photograph. Yeah, that's. Okay. So this is going to be an interesting word. How many of you have heard about it?
That's okay. It's a fairly recent word that has come into the picture. And I guarantee you that you are going to hear this word phytoncides with each passing day, and it's going to get more and more important. It's going to become the buzzword. Trust me on that. If you haven't heard of it, I'm glad. We are going to talk to you about it just for a minute to tell you what phytoncides is, because we're talking about rainforests and we couldn't complete the talk without talking about phytoncides. So what are phytoncides? Simply put, okay, you guys must be taking, because of the Chennai weather, Bangalore weather, we do take a lot of Chyawanprash or vitamin C tablets or the Indian gooseberry, amla, right? And what does it do for us? It builds our immunity. It helps, it makes us stronger. It helps us fight against diseases. That's exactly what phytoncides is for trees. The only difference is we have to ingest all of this that I mentioned. We do not produce it. The human body doesn't produce it. But phytoncides is a chemical, is a biological, organic chemical that plants produce, trees produce, especially pines and many other trees produce within themselves, and they emit it as well. So phytoncides is the defense mechanism. Yes, we can call it the defense mechanism of trees. So it does two things. One, it builds the immunity of trees. It makes them stronger, like Chyawanprash makes us stronger. The second is it prevents trees from rotting. It prevents trees from getting infested by insects or animals. And it is very high in antimicrobials, antifungals. So it is so strong, and especially when a tree is sick or a tree is being attacked in the forest, or is rotting, or it's or some kind of damage is there in the tree, the production of phytoncides by that tree increases manifold, so that the tree is able to heal and get back to its normal form.
So pesticide is an artificial form.
Pesticide is artificial, yes. Yes, absolutely. Pesticide is absolutely artificial. These are produced only by trees. So it's like I don't know, like you're the science people. Like our body produces a lot of hormones, like a lot of chemicals. The same way trees also produce. So this is one of the chemicals, one of the biological organic chemicals that trees produce within themselves to build their strength, to be able to fight. Because when you are in a forest, there are a lot of trees, you are constantly getting attacked by something or the other, bad weather, rotting, insects, something or the other. You need something to protect you. And these phytoncides help the trees protect themselves from that. So the interesting part here is these phytoncides not only help the trees, and that is why I said we are going to hear more and more about this. Because when the trees emit phytoncides into the atmosphere, like near them, they reach us, they reach humans. So when we travel to a forested area, when we are in the presence of trees, these phytoncides reach us and they help us build our immunity. They help us reduce our stress levels, reduce our BP, reduce our heart rate. And a very important and interesting fact is, if you have heard of something called natural killer cells in the human body. So there's a kind of white blood cells in the human body that's called natural killer cells, which helps the human body fight against many diseases. So it has been proved, and there are studies, published studies, which say that when human beings come in the presence of these trees that produce phytoncides, the natural killer cells, the production of natural killer cells in the human body increases. So that means our capacity to fight diseases also increases. Now, I wouldn't say this for sure because studies are still going on about it, but one of the things that scientists are saying that these phytoncides will help humans fight diseases, fight things like tumor, and maybe in the future even some forms of cancer. So it's that important. So if you've heard of the Japanese term Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, or something called forest therapy, so we all have been hearing about these terms, and we all have been doing it, or these have been known to us for quite some time. But now there is scientific proof as to why being in the presence of trees is so beneficial for humans. I'll give you a small example. Like, I have chronic migraine, and there was, I think way back in 2019, I spent almost a month in Satpura in the forest when I was doing my naturalist training. And during that time, I cannot go for more than 4-5 days without getting a migraine. But during that 1 month, I did not get migraine even once. So when I came back, I thought, okay, maybe I was very happy. I was doing what I love to do, wildlife, photography, animals, all of that. So I was probably happy, and I didn't notice that I didn't get a migraine. But now when I read about phytoncides, and I read about what being in the presence of trees, being in the presence of nature does to us, it makes a lot of sense. And fortunately for you all, you are in the presence of nature. You have a beautiful campus. Anant and I were just walking around the campus today, and we were saying that, wow, this is such a beautiful campus. This has so many trees. And so probably all of you have such glowing skin, and all of you, I don't know about the stress levels. I mean, you have highly stressful jobs, but I'm sure if you would have been in some other place in a city like Bangalore with all the pollution and high rises, and your campus wouldn't be so green, probably your stress levels and your heart rates would have been much higher. But because you are in this kind of surrounding, it helps you. It definitely helps you. I mean, try it out for yourself. Just observe, and you'll notice it. Within 15 days, you'll start noticing the difference.
Normally people say that you have a lot of oxygen.
Yes.
So you are saying it's beyond that, right?
Yes, exactly. Oxygen, yes. We all knew about oxygen.
So how many type of this must be a family of molecules, these phytoncides. It's a large number of them. Is there a way of classifying them?
I don't know exactly, sir, but right now, like the studies that I have read, so I don't know if there are different kinds of it, because right now they are just saying that there's just one kind of chemical. So probably different kinds of trees produce different kinds of phytoncides. So maybe pine forests are said to produce the maximum number of phytoncides, They are supposed to be the highest producers and emitters of phytoncides. So probably their chemical might be a little different from that of probably temperate forest, or probably what is found in India, or our local trees or something. But yeah, a lot of studies are going on. Sorry? Nicotine. Nicotine is phytoncide. Nicotine is harmful for us, right? I mean, I don't know. Wow.
And THC
Aha.
is also
pH. THC.
is also developed to make the plant not like browsing animals eat the plant. So there are all these sort of secondary metabolites which protects the plant. So is it
No,
like
this
that?
is separate. It is.
So based on consumption, right, that you're talking about?
The secondary metabolites that plants produces, most of them helps the plant to stay alive without say browsing animals or insects attack the plants. So nicotine is an example, THC, tetrahydrocannabinol is an example. So is it like that?
It's something like that.
It's something like that, but a little different. It's a little, it's a little higher grade of protection, probably, if you might want to call it. Because it's not really protecting you. Like, a lot of trees have the defense mechanisms, right? So that plants don't attack it, plants don't eat them up, like a lot of plants and trees have that. But this is something a little bit more complex and little bit more So even if a plant is not rotting, say for example, it's a very healthy plant, this chemical is still getting produced by that plant, so that the plant can maintain its immunity.
It's a new finding.
It's a very new finding. It's a very new finding. It's still in its very nascent stages.
Some kind of perfumes are being produced by some resins by infecting some specific plants by some fungus, and then in response they are creating some black resins, and those one of the I think costlier perfume. I think agarwood or something like that. Completely in this side. The whole tree has been infected, and then in response plant are creating some black resins, and those are made for the perfume or something like that.
Almost all spices we use in food are
Yes.
secondary materials.
Yes. Yes. So these things we have known all these things. So we know that plants have all of these benefits, but and this is like something new. And when scientists are saying, the scientific community is saying that this might be a cure for things like tumor or cancer. I mean, just being in the presence of trees, just so I don't know, probably like if given a choice, like if we could extract this from plants, and maybe in future, a few years down the line, this will be used in the treatment of these diseases. You probably, I mean, the best would be you be in the presence of trees, but if these could actually be converted to medicines or some kind of treatment, that it could reach people who are actually in need of it. I mean, yeah, I mean, wonderful things. We just have to see how this pans out. And yes. So when we were in Agumbe, I guess we got a lot of oxygen and a lot of phytoncides. But talking a little bit of Agumbe, I mean, first of all, we always tell everyone that you should really visit Agumbe at least once in your lifetime. But Agumbe is a very tiny, small village. It's always raining there. It's hot and humid. There's nothing much to do. But for the scientific community, I mean, but for people, if you are interested in the natural world, if you are interested in trees, plants, or even if you're not interested, you should just go there, because if Western Ghats is a hot spot, then Agumbe is a hot spot of the hot spot. So it's that diverse. It's in Karnataka, in the Shimoga district. So very close to Bangalore. You can take an overnight bus from Bangalore. King cobra is the flagship species of Agumbe, and it's called the Cherrapunji. Yeah, it's called the Cherrapunji of South India just because of the amount of rainfall it receives, and that is above 7,500 millimeters of mean annual rainfall. That's the amount of rainfall that Agumbe receives. So that's a little bit about Agumbe and some snaps of us in Agumbe. That's the tent. Like when we went there for the first time, 2018, there were no concrete structures. We lived in the tent. But Agumbe, so that reminds me, Agumbe has amazing research facilities. We were just talking to Bharti, and Bharti was also telling, we were talking about the ARRS. So Agumbe Rainforest Research Station, which is founded by Romulus Whittaker. I'm sure you all know him. And there's another Kalinga Center for Rainforest Ecology that is founded by the famous herpetologist Gauri Shankar. So you can go and visit any of these research stations, spend some time there, and they'll take you around and introduce you to the native species. And those are leech socks. By the way, there are a lot of leeches. as in any rainforest. And that's Anant trying to take a picture of a spider. Uh, so moving on, yeah, photography.
So what's that structure? Is that a wasp nest?
This is a wasp nest, yeah.
We were sleeping in tents and there were snakes all over the place. It's not like the tent was just probably a psychological thing that we are inside and we are safe, but actually there were snakes all over the place. And they're pretty much harmless, right? I mean, as long as we don't tread in its path, it just, you're standing and you see something go by or something just sitting there, and it's a different experience. The first night we probably never slept the whole night, and something was crawling on the tent for sure. So, but otherwise it's an experience.
Snakes were a common sight in Maxine's campus.
Yeah, but there were cobras and pit vipers.
I've seen those.
Wow, amazing, amazing, sir, amazing, amazing, amazing. Oh,
In fact, just to tell one story, once we had a hut where I was explaining something to my students. He suddenly froze at me. Then he looked at my feet, snake going over my foot.
oh my God.
So I was not agitated, fortunately. So it went away and we continued our discussion.
Yeah, did you figure out what snake it was?
Yeah.
Snakes are
But
harmless.
We have caught cobra at least twice during this stay.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Yeah.
there is a story that we had a whole library in the building. So the librarian used to say, sir, when you go to that corner, please be careful about cobras. They come to read physical review like that. So I said it. I'm talking about 1980s. Even more recently.
But snakes are harmless, right? I mean, they are
Unless
very
you walk
harmless.
on them.
Yeah, unless you walk on them, then it's like I slap you, you'll slap me back, right? So we can expect the same from a cobra. If you stamp on me, I'm going to, bite you. Okay, so coming back to wildlife photography. So, I mean, yeah, Sita bro just said wildlife photographers and all of that. So it's not that we have always been wildlife photographers or it's been a very long time and wildlife photography was our first passion. It was not. But what we were passionate about and we were crazy about was animals. So we are like, two crazy people absolutely in love with animals. And probably that was because of our childhood. Anant here, he grew up in our very own IIT Chennai campus. And so at that point of time, there were spotted deers, black bucks, jackals, porcupines, everything right at his doorstep. And he tells me that he used to feed the spotted deers as well. They used to come to his doorstep and they used to feed them every night.
Even now,
Yeah, even now, but the population has reduced drastically. And I grew up in a small industrial city of Durgapur in West Bengal, with a lot of cats, dogs, cows, jackals, a lot of diversity of birds in and around. So growing up for us, we actually took these things for granted. We thought that, these are going to be part of our lives for the rest of our lives, and they're not going anywhere. We are going to always be very close to them. But when you move out, like especially for me, when I moved out of my small city and I came to the big city, I just realized that how distant we have become from nature. Like to spot even, I was in Delhi for some time, to spot even birds or something, you would have to go out. And nature was becoming more and more distant from us. So one of the things that Anant and I, when we met, we bonded over was our mutual love for wildlife. And then we started going for forest trips together. And that's when we purchased our first camera. And the intention was not to take great photographs. The intention was just to capture the moment, just to capture some animals, come back, because every picture tells a story. Like we take so many pictures, like every picture tells a story. Every picture has a memory attached to it. And we just wanted to bring them back with us so that every time we look at them, we can just reminisce upon those wonderful times. But then, as days passed by, months passed by, years passed by, and we started taking more and more pictures, we became even more ardent lovers of the wildlife, because it taught us a lot more. Because when you are photographing something, when you're in the forest or anywhere else for that matter, even in your garden, when you're photographing a creature, you are spending a lot of time with that creature. It's not like you just see something and you walk away. You're actually observing it, spending minutes, hours looking at it for that perfect shot, and when you're waiting for that perfect shot, you're also observing its behavior. So like when you're waiting for the jungle owlet to turn its head and look at you, you are actually seeing how it behaves when the sun rises. When the peacock is on top of a tree early in the morning, you're trying to photograph it, and you can also see it flying down from the tree to the forest floor. And a tiger, like when you're waiting to see the tiger, you can hear the tiger chewing on bones. You can hear that sound, in an absolutely quiet forest. With patience, if you're waiting, you can actually hear the tiger chew on bones, tear flesh, eat whatever it has killed, and then spend some time and come out onto the road, because it's going to the water probably to drink or to rest or to sleep. So these magical moments. So wildlife photography, it made it possible for us to appreciate all these magical moments even more. So it's like the story of the hen. Which came first, the hen or the egg for us? They just fuel our love for wildlife and our love for wildlife photography. They just fuel each other for us at this point of time. And through wildlife photography, we met some really amazing people. Amazing conservationists, amazing storytellers, amazing photographers, and it's just enriched our lives. There's so much to learn from them. So like I was saying, I spent a month in Satpura because I just wanted to learn so much more about wildlife, and I just thought that I know so less. So I did my course became a naturalist, and I also use my inspiration, use the natural world as an inspiration for my drawings. So I do a bit of mandala, and animals have always been at the center of it for me. Nature has always been at the center for me, and Nature Vedas, which is
So Nature Vedas was just a venture that it's not a company as such, but during COVID, there were a lot of people who were reaching out to us from the Western Ghats, primarily from Wayanad. And they wanted money to, because of the COVID situation, they were not able to do much business, so they wanted some money every month for the education and different reasons, right, livelihood and all that. So what we did was, first few months, we were giving them money, but then after some time we said, why don't you start giving your produce? And we were helping them sell their produce through us. So in the current situation where they go into the forest for about 70-80 kilometers, they buy those, they get the produce from there. It could be honey, it could be turmeric powder, it could be anything, right? So pepper. So they get those produce from there and they kind of give it to the local government entity, or they kind of send it to us. We sell it and we send back the money to them. So that was the primary reason of Nature Vedas, and then it evolved. Today, this was probably about during COVID, and now it evolved into some kind of a sustainable living, right? So we are looking at how we can reduce the usage of plastic, and how can we be more sustainable and leave more for the next generation. That's the idea. And Moving on is something that I wanted to just talk about from my entrepreneurship perspective, right? So we had burdock plant. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about burdock plant. And what you're seeing here is Velcro, right? So nature inspires us. All of our designs, be it that we do for our customers or our own product, the first thing that we learned in new product development is that head out to nature and see what's there that can help us solve this problem, right? This was probably invented in 1970 or something, and they have a patent on this, and it's still being used today, Velcro, right? The second example was the pantograph, which is used to connect the train with the electric line. So it has been inspired, the different components have been inspired from different parts of the animal. Like for example, the top component was inspired from the feathers, the penguin has given an inspiration for the base, and the whole pantograph as such has been inspired from the owl. Right? So there's a lot of designers that they get into something called biomimicry, where your engineers normally don't have biology as a background, so now that has been promoted a lot, where biomimicry is where you get ideas from nature and start implementing it into making products, new products. The next one is going to be, I'm sure a lot of you would have come across this, the kingfisher. Does this give you any clue? So we are looking at 3 kingfishers. Any guesses? Yeah, sounds good, perfect. So they had sonic booms when the bullet train was coming out of the tunnels, which was heard for approximately 400 meters. So they looked at kingfisher and they said, okay, how is the beak? How is it diving into the water without, with so much ease and catching the fish? And once they looked at the kingfisher, they realized that they copied some of the designs from the beak, and that led to 10% faster, 15% less energy, and the sound levels coming down to 70 decibels. So bullet trains, next time you look at one, you probably thank the kingfisher for it. Right? Another example is wasps, right? Hornets, whatever it is. Like you see the complexity that these white lines indicate the insulation, and so you can see the red is the core part and the yellow is the insulation part, and the core part will have the eggs and they kind of hatch from there. So some of these structures today are taken from nature design. That's the last slide, and next we're going to have some of our mammals and other photography, right? So we're pretty much done, and here there are some slides that keep running and you can see our photographs on it. So any questions now, we'll be more than happy to address.
So that was
Yeah.
so we can now open for discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so folks, the floor is open for discussion. Please feel free to ask questions, comments.
Short. You mentioned about products. Recently, somebody sent me a message saying that there are some tribal people, about 300 of them, joined together. This is the New Year and Christmas season. So they make products using bamboo sticks.
Yes.
Because our ordinary decorations, 95% of them are plastic. So it's completely non-plastic, so bamboo.
Yes.
So they sent a message. I can share it with you later.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Definitely, sir.
300
Yes.
tribal people somewhere in India.
So in why not we help them design bamboo bottles. The problem
Yeah,
is
sure,
the
yeah.
caps. They started using plastic caps over a period of time, right? So that's another issue, but they kind of dipped it into some kind of a resin material. Towards the end, they went back to plastic and all that stuff. So we said, okay, that's not going to work out, right? So anything that we now see, it might be bamboo, but because to avoid leakage or to ensure that the cap is not has to sit properly, they kind of started using other materials.
But it's still not 95%, it may be 5%.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. and that actually kind of becomes more harmful because even when you make a bamboo toothbrush, the brush itself is made of bamboo or whatever wood, but the bristles are not. So when you dispose it, or say for example, many your paper cups, paper cows cannot distinguish between that, but the paper cups are lined with plastic. So we have to be very careful even when you're talking about sustainability, when we are making that swap, a change in our lifestyle, what are we actually disposing? Because when cows can't distinguish between a paper cup or paper cup that is lined with plastic, they are consuming everything, and their stomachs are filled with plastic. That's why our oceans are filled with so much plastic. And resin is one of the most harmful. So all that resin art, I'm really not against resin art or any form of art, but resin is really harmful for the environment.
Is there any photographer who actually inspired you? Like, can you name someone in wildlife photography who really created that inspiration in you? Anyone you want to mention?
Yes, there is someone by the name of Shaz Jung. I really like him because not only because he takes amazing pictures, but because of the way he captures and his entire viewpoint about animals and about conservation, and he does a lot about conservation, and so I just like him because I find him that he's not just taking pictures, but he's also passionate about wildlife and conserving it. So
For me, she inspires me. So, on a good note is that I was never into photography. I used to always be, with her, and I could see her passion and all that, and that kind of really inspired me to get into it and see. And the other thing about naturalists is that they somehow put the camera down, and they start looking through the binoculars. They want to look more in the live mode, right? So, but then I got addicted to it, and she definitely inspired, yeah.
Okay, so for any photography, we need tools, and that tool is camera. And we know that even these days mobile is good, but what do you think, what is the best camera for a beginner? Should at least minimum tool should have what are the set of tools one should have to start these kind of things?
So,
yeah, please.
yeah, we had a slide on gears. I'll just move to that. I'll
I
come
think that's
back to
hidden.
this. So some of our best shots are probably the best shots is our eyes, right? First thing that you observe.
Yeah, no doubt.
Second thing is probably the camera on the phone, right? The phone is, there are a couple of shots in the exhibition that I've taken only on my phone, and it was just by chance. Sometimes it depends on what you start with. Any camera is fine, Nikon, Canon, anything is fine, as long as a base camera, anything is fine. But it's on what you start with, and then you kind of evolve with that, right? So you upgrade the camera, you upgrade the lens, and so basically the only target that we set for ourselves was first to get out of auto mode, right? So then we get into manual mode, and then aperture mode. Then we started exploring. So that's any base camera to begin with, and especially if you're going for macro photography, then it gets into a particular lens and flashlight and all that. But otherwise, any base camera which comes with the standard lens, right? So if there is landscape, we look at 1855 lens. If there's when we look at zoom photography, we're looking at tigers or something, we go for something between 200 to 600 So it depends on what kind of photography, but camera is the base camera is good. Based on what photography, you can choose your lenses.
What about the binoculars you looked
Yeah.
at?
So-
You don't take photographs. No.
So,
Are
but
there technology that can
Right now, I think the naturalist is using the binocular just to see view, because for them, they don't want to even get to cameras for them.
Well, you get that depth and you can get size and all.
Yeah, some cameras give us that, that some lenses give us that perception, but binoculars not yet there.
What are the specifications required for bird?
Specification as in camera?
Cameras.
So I would say, I mean, you can start with something as basic as Nikon D5300, D5300, right? Yeah, you can start with that, and you can get a 7300. That's light, that's easy to carry, and it's good to start practicing. And once you're comfortable, obviously, then you start getting the bigger lenses and like a D500 or the Z series or something. But to begin with, yeah, I think D5300 and a 7300 is really great. So we spent quite a bit of time. I think around 2 years, 2.5 years we spent with only that.
Do phytoncides have smell to them? Sometimes when I go inside like a forest or so, I get this herbs like
Yes.
smell.
Yes, some of them have. Like I was talking about pine. So pine, when the phytoncides that the pine trees emit, they have that piney smell. Yes, yes. So again, a lot of studies going on. We don't exactly know, but whether all trees, when they release phytoncides, whether they have a smell or not, or what that smell is. But yeah, some of them, yes, they do.
You said 3 months naturalist training. So what do you learn in that, and who offers this training?
For the second part of your question, who all can go for this training?
Like who offers this training?
Who offers?
Yeah, and what do you learn in that, like 2-3 months naturalist training?
Okay. You learn about all creatures. You learn about birds. You learn about mammals, reptiles, butterflies. You learn about how to spot. So basically, it teaches you how to identify and how to identify different creatures. So by their behavior, by their look and feel. Because when you're on the field, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's early morning, and you're not really able to identify something. But if you know the behavior of a bird, or you know the behavior of an animal, like a leopard walks, leopard and tiger both are cats, right? But when you look at them, they both walk very differently. Tigers love the sun, but leopards love humid climate. So when it's cloudy, you'll see leopards. When it's sunny, you'll see tigers. So so this is just an example. So these are the kind of things that you learn about animal behavior, about animal identification, about different kinds of it, everything. So everything about the natural world is taught, and also it teaches you if in future you want to you want to train somebody, or you want to guide somebody, you want to educate somebody on the natural world, you can even do that. And there are a lot of people who do that. There's Pagdandi, from where I did Pagdandi safaris. They offer. Then there's Taj safaris. They have their own naturalist course. Then there's JLR, and so these are three really good ones. But there are a lot of them. Like every forest department, every state forest department, like MP, Karnataka, they have their own naturalist courses. So very specific. So I'm not sure. I'm sure Tamil Nadu Forest Department will also have these courses. So you can find that out, and if you're eligible, you can apply.
Yeah, so the other thing is that it depends on what course of direction that you want to go, right? So most of them who come for this training is primarily, we kind of went for it to understand what it is all about. A lot of people come because they want to go and apply for a job in a resort or someplace, and so there's a whole one-day session on how to treat your guests. right? When they ask, you need to have patience to deal with the guests, right? And most difficult part is that everybody who enters the forest wants to see a tiger, right? So they get really frustrated if they don't see. That's a major disappointment for the naturalist. It's really disheartening because they have learnt a lot and they kind of unlearn because everybody wants to see only most of them want to see only a tiger, and they want to get a head-on shot. Walking, the tiger should walk in this direction and that direction, and they go put the jeep and all that. So there's a couple of things that the rules are there. You have to maintain 30 feet distance between the tiger and you, irrespective of whatever it is. So whatever shots that you see is probably, some of them are really far, right? It's a zoom camera we have, zoom lens, and that's why we're able to see. This is on probably the left side bottom is on the other side of the river, right? It was nowhere close to us. So these are all things that it trains, and you get a complete understanding of the forest. And the best naturalists today are the people who live there, right? They get into the forest department and they learn, how to identify, because they see tigers in and out. Their livelihood is there. Now, a lot of forests have started relocating them outside the forest, right? They all live in buffer zones. Now they're kind of relocating them outside.
Most of these pictures, if I look at the location, these are from conserved forests, right? Like Jim Corbett, Ashok, Tadoba and all.
Yeah.
So how do you enter these places? Do you still, are these from buffer zones, or do you go inside with special permission? How does it work?
So, no, every forest, every state has their forest department has allocated certain forests for people to enter. Mostly 80% of the forest people are not allowed. If you say, for example, Tadoba, 80% or 60-70%, we are not allowed to enter those zones. Or they expose to public only about 20%. So if you are going around for about 5-6 days or 8 days, you probably see that 20%. That is morning, evening safari or full day safari and things like that. So there are paths. So very simple, you would carry your ID card, you book the safari, you book a ticket for yourself, then you book a safari there. There are local jeeps available, talk to them, find a price. So it's like 6 people in a jeep, and then you just hop onto it, and the forest will give you the local naturalist. They have a naturalist from that. So you pay for that as well. So then you just go into the forest and look around. So it depends on your interest that they will drive the jeeps. If you want to look at birds or you want to look at mammals, it depends on what it is. So every forest follow pretty much this protocol. Some forests like Jim Corbett has a stay inside. So you can go and stay for 2 nights, 3 days, something like that, not more than that. So you have to come back out and then book again and go back in. So there are some forests which kind of allow this. In south it's pretty minimal. In north there are a lot of forests. The other thing is you have to be very careful where you're booking. You don't want to book in a place where there are 200 resorts. So because there's a lot of disturbance from your neighbors. But otherwise it's
Pulicat is very close to us.
right.
Can you say something about Pulicat, your experience?
Pulicat, so again, depends on what you want to go to Pulicat for. If you are just a birder, if you just want to watch birds, then any time during the year is good enough, except for the very hot summer season. You can go to Pulicat any time of the year. Try to go early in the morning, like probably leave Chennai around 4 o'clock in the morning or something, so that you reach by 5 o'clock before the sun rises. And that's the time when most of these birds will be in the water, or fishing or something like that, or later in the day, so like around 3 o'clock. Again, because that is the time when birds come for the last feed or something, and before they go off to sleep. So you can do that. But if you want to watch flamingos specifically, which Pulicat is famous for, then somewhere around March, April would be a good time to go to Pulicat.
And they have some beautiful flamingos there. That one was in Chennai actually. So Vedantangal has some nice birds as well. So
Yeah.
it's
It's awesome. It's present flamingos flying over Kuttivakkam beach.
Ah.
Beautiful, very rare sight.
so the
Yeah.
Vedantangal is somehow shrinking, because from the time we went 5 years ago to now, it's kind of shrunk a lot. There are a lot of places in and around Chennai. So we spent almost 2-3 weeks going around all the lakes in Chennai and seeing what we can get. That was one of the
Sholinganallur Lake is really good. Lot of ducks. Like if you go in December and January, there are a lot of migratory ducks and storks and pelicans. So it's really beautiful these 2 months.
This is fishing cat in Dudhwa. This is one of the endangered species. You know, this is the first time we are showing this photo because it's kind of coming out of the endangered list, I think. So there's 5 years ago, there was one person who just saw a fishing cat. He went to Cannon and he got 500 people into the Dudhwa and they did one Cannon exercise there. Right? So we kind of don't display a lot of photos because of that, because somebody is more driven in a different way. So we have to be a little cautious.
So, we can go on, but, unfortunately, we also have a finite time in our hands, and we have at 6 o'clock the inauguration of the exhibition of the photos, which is going to be in the library, which is going to, Professor Raghavendra Gadakar of the Center for Ecological Sciences has very kindly agreed to open the exhibition. And so, before that, let me invite you all to high tea, which is going to be in the ground floor in front of the Ramanujam Auditorium. So following that, at 6 o'clock, we'll all go inside the library where we'll have the inauguration of the photograph exhibition of Anant and Diana. So let's thank them for their wonderful lecture.